Iowa and Wisconsin both have one loss right now, which seems weird given that some of the times we're feeling like these teams are potentially worse than they actually are. But both teams have one loss. They're still very much both in it for the Big Ten West race, and now they face off in what could be a huge battle for both sides. Obviously, we're talking about Iowa and their struggles so far, but Wisconsin's had some of their own struggles as well. And I think that this will be a very interesting game to see which style will win out. Obviously, when you came into the year, Iowa was going to be the butt of all jokes because of the contract for Brian Ferentz. And so far, this offense has not looked good. I think you can make an argument, though, that they have looked better than last year. And that's not really saying that they're good. It's just that they looked a little bit better. They still struggle mightily. The numbers are not good. And there's a lot of red when you look at Iowa's offense. They are not doing a good job of really anything. And that's concerning going forward. I think that there are certain things they can do to get better. And obviously, with a new quarterback who used to be at Wisconsin in Deacon Hill, maybe you see them take a step forward. Maybe you see them play a little bit closer than what we expect. It's Iowa. So you know that they're going to be tough to beat, even when they're struggling. So guys like Cooper DeJean will play a huge role in that as well. Because this isn't your typical Wisconsin team. They want to throw the football. So DeJean will definitely be more involved, not in necessarily in tackling, though he will be a participant in that, but he will be more involved in pass defense, which seems weird given what we've seen from Wisconsin for years and years and years. But this defense for Iowa is still a tough group. It's still one of the tougher groups to beat. And Wisconsin, despite their new system, will still have their hands full. And it's just a matter of how long they can outlast Iowa. Because right now, Iowa is not putting up points. I mean, this is a team that struggles to put up 20 points a game. And Wisconsin, I think that their defense is playing pretty well under Mike Tressel and Luke Fickell, but you're looking at an Iowa team that can be very tough as well. Wisconsin's interesting too, because like I said, the one thing that they give Iowa this year that Iowa hasn't seen is a new offense with Phil Longo calling the plays. It's very different than that traditional pro style offense, that the ground and pound, if you will, style that Wisconsin's played in the past. This is very much a more balanced approach, and it shows in the numbers. They're averaging over 200 yards in both passing and rushing so far this year. But it doesn't mean that guys like Braylon Allen can't be effective. Now, with Chez Mellusi out for the rest of the year, Braylon Allen becomes even more of a focal point in this offense. They still want to run the football. That has not changed under Longo. It's just that they like to throw the ball a little bit more. So that gives them a little bit different look for teams that they face. And the other thing to note is that this defense is still playing pretty well. I think one of the things that fans probably worried about was, can Wisconsin continue to play defense at the level that they've played in the past? And so far, we have seen that. And I think it's only going to get better as long as Fickell is still there. The style of offense is really where this changes. And if they're able to be explosive against Iowa, Iowa has no chance. Now, the matchups to watch are a little bit different because in the past, it was essentially just pick any offensive lineman and have them pick the matchup they'll face, aka any defensive lineman they face, any linebacker they face. Just put all of those in there, and that's really all that matters because we knew the offenses weren't going to rely on their quarterbacks. We knew that they weren't going to rely on the receivers. But this is different. Iowa obviously is still the same, but Wisconsin is very different. So the first matchup for me is really honestly just pick any secondary player for Iowa against any passing skill position player for Wisconsin. Tanner Mordecai, the quarterback position, obviously plays a huge role, but there are other players that can step up too. So there's certain players that will be a different type of playmaker and play a different role than they have in the past. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. A big matchup for me is Nick Jackson, the former Virginia transfer, against Braylon Allen. They are going to meet quite a bit in the trenches. And this is, like I said, Wisconsin still wants to run the football. They are still going to try to get Braylon Allen involved. They are still going to try to break him loose. And that is a reason why this matchup will be so fun to watch. And like I said, in the past, this has been pick your offensive lineman and pick the defensive lineman. That is still the case. Mason Richmond and James Thompson Jr. could be an absolute battle. I think the trenches still play a very important role, and how they're able to perform could go a long way in determining the outcome. And then, typical Iowa, they don't have just one tight end to worry about. Eric All is a very fun player to watch, and guys like CJ Gates will have their hands full trying to defend him. But that also leads us into keys to the game. For Iowa, it seems pretty obvious, but you got to find an offense. Something has to change. It's so hard to watch, and honestly, if you're an Iowa fan, you have endured a lot over the last few years, especially last year, and now essentially you're just getting the same thing, even if it is a little bit more improved. You have to find a way to limit explosive plays because Wisconsin found explosive plays running the football last year and in years past. They found ways to do that. But now, even more so, you have to find a way to not only slow down the rushing attack, but now there's a passing attack element that you have to worry about even more. Preparing for the long haul. This will still be a battle. Like I said, Phil Longo still wants to run the football. That identity has not changed. Braylon Allen will be a healthy contributor to this offense for the entire year. And it's a big reason why Wisconsin will be successful. And at his size, it's going to be tough for Iowa's front seven to compete. And if they are not prepared for the long haul, they will get worn down and eventually Wisconsin will run away with it. For the Badgers, you have to break their will. Going along with that, preparing for the long haul, you need to use Braylon Allen as much as you can, and you have to find a way to essentially make Iowa quit. And right now, Iowa's defense is playing really well, but with any team, the more you rely on one part of your team, the more worn out they get. And if you're not able to get them some help, especially offensively, then one team is going to essentially break your will. Play smart football. Tanner Mordecai isn't exactly the best when it comes to taking care of the football, and so far we've seen that in his numbers. We'll talk about that more a little bit here. But taking fewer, I mean, you can take some shots. You're going to do that, but making sure there's smart choices, sure there's smart decisions, taking care of the football. And the biggest thing for Wisconsin that will help them is picking up the pace, finding a way to play at a rate at which Iowa is not comfortable plays a huge role in determining this outcome. And if Wisconsin can do that, I like their chances here. Now, this is not going to be your typical quarterback matchup. This is not going to be a matchup that tells us which team will win simply because of the quarterbacks. Now, I think Tanner Mordecai plays a bigger role in this offense than Deacon Hill does for Iowa, just because Iowa has struggled so much. And so far, we haven't really seen what Deacon Hill can be. We've seen what Tanner Mordecai can do for this team. And I think Wisconsin is still figuring some things out offensively. I think they still definitely have some things to sort out, some things to identify, and how they can improve. Tanner Mordecai is a good veteran to have. I think we've yet to see him play to his full potential. And obviously, playing at SMU is very different than playing at Wisconsin, but we are still waiting to see what he can do. To me, it's just Iowa obviously has the defense to slow down Wisconsin, but I just don't know if they have an offense to put up any points. If you're going to pick this game, I don't see how you pick Iowa. I just simply don't. And I'm not saying that Iowa is a terrible team. I just don't know. You have to score to win the game. And right now, it feels like the offense is not going to do enough. Maybe the defense and the special teams do what they did against Michigan State and find a way to win, but it's going to be an ugly win. And right now, I just feel that Wisconsin is the better team. They're still the more athletic team. Even though the system looks different, they are still going to be physical. They are still going to try to run the football. And I think that eventually Iowa just wears down. Their defense can only do so much. And for that reason, the Badgers will win this game.